I was sitting there trying to understand why I was getting lectured for doing well on a test. And it really kind of fits the pattern of what a lot of kids go through.
I knew I was smart. There was just no one else that believed me. Going through life, not understanding why you don't get things like everyone else, but knowing that you're smart, you just don't act like everyone else.
I was the same. I was in gifted classes, but I was a terrible student. Like, they knew I was smart, but I wouldn't do the work. I wouldn't focus.
For me, athletics was a big part of helping me through my ADHD as a kid. I still was terrible in school until I discovered Concerta.
Last year, my 8-year-old, who I did not think had ADHD, was diagnosed with combined type. All of a sudden, I was in a panic. I went into parent mode. Who do I talk to? What do I do? Where do I go? I've got to fix this now because I might get distracted by something and not get back to it. So.
ADHD Rewired, episode 85. This is the show designed to help those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. My name is Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and consultant. We know that starting can be the hardest part, so let's get started. But first, let me thank our sponsors. Support for this podcast comes from Audible. For a free audiobook download, go to erictivers.com/audible for a link for that free download and for some hand-picked recommendations. Go to erictivers.com/audible for your free audiobook download. I have an important announcement regarding Facebook and the ADHD Rewired community. If you are not in the ADHD Rewired community on Facebook, but you have requested to join the community, I'm asking you now to please resubmit your request. I had about 185 unanswered responses from people that I message when anyone requests to join the community, because I do screen everybody. So if you're waiting and you haven't heard from me, please request to join the community. Just find us on Facebook or a Facebook group. So we do have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. And if you didn't know we had a community group, then now you do know. So join the ADHD Rewired community group. It's a free group. We have about 230 or 40 people in there right now, but I do screen everybody. And so if you request, make sure you check your other inbox, because if my messages are going to the other inbox and you haven't responded in more than a week, I'm removing you from the list. So that's the update. That's how I'm going to manage the flow. And it actually felt really good to declare bankruptcy on that queue. Have you ever declared bankruptcy on your email inbox? I have quite a while ago. I'd love to hear, what are the things that you've done to purge your unanswered inboxes? Sometimes it just feels really good. Anyways, happy ADHD Awareness Month. And now for a really special and fun episode. One of the first episodes that I've done on the blab.im platform. If you want to get involved and join me for a live recording, make sure you join my email list. You can do that at my website at adhdrewired.com. There'll be a little pop-up that will come in. You just put in your email, or you can text me to the number 22828. Just text my last name. That's Tivers, Tivers, to the number 22828. And now let's get on with a conversation with a bunch of people on the blab.im platform. This is something new. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm really excited about this platform. I did my first blab last week, but most of you who are going to be listening to this, at least as the plan goes, are going to be listening through iTunes or Stitcher or anywhere where you listen to this podcast. But this is an experiment, because ADHD, I think about ADHD, yes, as a kind of a complex syndrome or disorder, but I look at ADHD as part of being part of a community. And this platform, Blab, is really allowing real-time interaction with people. And the goal here today is for us to be able to talk about and share our stories. So if as you're joining, please feel free to share, tell a little bird. You can do that by clicking the little icon on the left there. I'm going to be talking about some of my stories. I'm going to be answering questions. I want to hear also your stories as well. This is what this month is all about, ADHD Awareness Month. The more people understand what ADHD really is, the more we destigmatize this disorder. So I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining me. I'm really, really excited about this. For those of you who are new to Blab, you can put in the comments if you're on your computer or on your mobile device. Just let me know if this is your first Blab or if this is you've done this before, because I want to hear your stories. I want to know kind of what your connections are. I put this out to my email list. I put this out to on Facebook, and I did something that I tend to do, and I screw things up. So I sent out an email last night, and I have a rule about email that when I send it out to my list, and this is a rule that anytime I break this rule, which I did last night, I end up realizing why I shouldn't break this rule. So the rule is that I need to have my wife or somebody else proof my emails before they go out. And for a very good reason. So I sent out an email today letting people know that there is going to be, I'm doing a once a week throughout all of ADHD Awareness Month. I'm going to be doing a live free adult study hall. Now, if you don't know what adult study hall is, it's sort of like Blab, but you can have up to 50 people in a virtual video conference room. And here's what we do. We do all the important stuff, things that are boring but important. And we know that so if you're new to the ADHD community or not, there's this concept called the body double. And we know from research that just having somebody else in a room with us can help increase and sustain our attention, especially on the things that we don't really want to do. And the adult study hall is one of the parts that I do in my ADHD Rewired coaching and accountability groups. But I'm going to be doing this once a week throughout the month of October, completely free. So if you have something boring that you need to do, whether it's paperwork, filing, anything of that kind of nature, I would invite you to bring it here. I'm going to post the link to that. It starts at 2:30 p.m. Central Time today. And this is one of the really cool things about this platform too, is I can post links in here and we can really develop this community where we are sharing resources, ideas, information, strategies, tips. So I'm super excited about this. The interesting thing about doing this kind of live, there's a lot of information for me kind of flowing, and I have to kind of manage all of that. So it's a lot of attention splitting, being able to really share my attention with multiple pieces of information. So welcome. If you are joining, please share, tell a little bird, let people know on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever you share that this is going on, because I want to really help people tell their stories. So I was thinking about this morning, all right, what are some stories that I have not shared about living with ADHD? And there were actually a number that were coming to mind. Not all of them are things that I am proud of, and many of those stories are things that are kind of pre-diagnosis of ADHD. So I'm going to share some of those stories momentarily. So I have Carly Knight, welcome. Matt, welcome. Christina, welcome. Christina from the Head On podcast. Christina, I know that you are, do you want to jump into the open seat real quick? Cause I want to ask you. Awesome. Christina, hey. So you are becoming a Blab addict. I saw you wrote in the comments.
I am not becoming. I am full-fledged.
It's a fast addiction, isn't it?
'Tis.
I think it's this real-time interaction. It's really bringing the social part of social media. I mean, we can have these real conversations with people live, seeing our, people's, facial responses, and that's what I think is huge. Now you're doing, daily Blabs. How's that going?
I'm doing a weekday because weekends is just like not possible. And it's really cool because I'm just opening up a room. I'm putting in ADHD Awareness Month. Let's chat. And then yesterday I met two guys I've never met before. And someone comes in and goes, oh, you know what? I'm really, really struggling with productivity and, processes and getting stuff done. So I'm like, great, cool. I went and edited my title and said, we're discussing productivity. And like two more people had come in, people I had not met before. There was Amy that had come in who I met on Friday. So I'm making really awesome connections. On Friday, we were only women, which is the focus of my podcast is entrepreneur women. So that was really awesome. And just connecting with other people and saying, you know what, like you're normal. You're completely normal. All these things that you keep being told that you suck for, or you keep being sneered at for, is completely normal. And so instead of complaining about it or sitting in a corner and having a pity party, let's come up with some solutions, because you're not going to change this. You're not going to change who you are. So let's just make yourself better with suggestions, and sometimes just knowing we're not alone.
Awesome. So you mentioned about your podcast is about women with ADHD. Now, has it launched yet?
Nope.
All right. So this whole notion of what we're doing here is about telling stories about living with ADHD, and you have the perspective of a woman living with ADHD. What do you think is unique about being a woman living with ADHD? How is that unique to you?
I don't have the hyperactivity part, so I can't speak on that. I can just say that I always was under the radar. Like in school, I talk a lot about this in my interviews with the women I've spoken with. I was always kind of considered like the coaster in school. And I'm sure the teachers, when they would meet in the teacher's lounge, if ever the topic of one of their students named Christina Favreau came up, it would be, oh yeah, she's kind of slow, isn't she? And she's just coasting by. And really, that's not at all how I was. I knew I was perceived that way, and I never had the language to say that's how I felt. Mm-hmm. But I knew I was smart. There was just no one else that believed me. So that is really hard, going through life, knowing, like, not understanding why you don't get things like everyone else, but knowing that you're smart, you just don't act like everyone else.
Right. Yeah. And I think too, I wonder, because you mentioned, that you don't have the hyperactivity piece, and I really don't have the hyperactivity piece on most situations. My brain is hyperactive, but my body is not. And, we know that the inattentive presentation of ADHD is more common in women, which is why often women go under the radar, with ADHD, and then, the other thing that I've been learning more and more about, which just complicates the kind of the treatment of ADHD, is the hormonal changes just throughout the month. And then you get into menopause, and, from a treatment perspective, man, that is complicated. So you take a disorder that's already inconsistent, and now you add all kinds of ups and downs. You increase the intensity of those ups and downs because of hormonal levels. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I'm not a man, so I have no point of reference. And it's very interesting that you said you're not hyperactive in your body, but in your brain, because when I tell people I have ADHD, some people, it's not a surprise, because in some situations I'm very animated, like in this kind of situation, but I'm not hyperactive in the sense that I can't. My son is hyperactive, and so I have that point of reference where he cannot contain his own body. Like, that struggle of his brain cannot tell his body to shut up. Whereas my brain can't tell my brain to shut up.
I think there's so much misunderstanding about ADHD because it can present in so many different ways. And so this is really why I want to do this platform, and really why I do the podcast we connect with stories. The science of ADHD is so important, and there's so much information that we know, but a lot of people start to hear science and their brain just falls asleep. So when we can really emulate the science through story, I think that's how we really change lives and give people that, oh, that's ADHD moment. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. So what I'm going to do here, when I do my podcast, I have people sign a release that this information can go out to the universe. Right?
I have already signed your release, remember?
Yes. And then, so speaking of ADHD moments, so you were supposed to come on the podcast, and I don't remember the details of what happened. All I know is I screwed up. And
there was a technical glitch. Like there was something like your setup just wasn't working. I was leaving on vacation that day. So there was no way to reschedule. I was out of commission for 2.5 months. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I shut everything down. I told my clients, I'm not available. And I still have your message in my inbox. It is still marked as unread so that I will get to it eventually.
Well, and hopefully too, with doing these blabs, that you're going to get a lot more encouragement of people, telling you, release the podcast.
Yes. Well, you and Tom definitely had that conversation, and I'm really trying to let go of that. I'm not a perfectionist by any stretch of the imagination, but I care deeply about what I put out into the world. I'm an entrepreneur, and so I have professional pride. And knowing that I do not have the technical, I want to be the best at this, and I want to have the best equipment. And I got a mixer, right? I have no clue what I'm doing. No clue. But I need it because I want to be the best at it. I recorded my intro. Thanks, Tom, for giving me the push in the behind to do that, and yourself as well, Eric. And so my intro's done. It's mixed to my music and everything. I figured all that out. I got to do an outro. Then my episode 0 is done. Jenny was so kind to record an episode 1 with me. And so it's just a matter of mixing my intro and outro in there.
Jenny Friedman.
Then I can release it into iTunes.
Where is Jenny Friedman? Why isn't she here on this blab? So Stephanie joined. Amy is here. So right now we have 9 people watching live. We have Tom, who is waiting to have a seat. I want to invite anyone else who wants to come and have a seat. If you are new to ADHD Rewired and you don't know kind of what I do, I'm a podcaster, I'm a therapist, I'm a coach. I'm going to post a couple links where you could find kind of my stuff. Let me do that. That's what's so cool about this platform is just the way to really actually share information in a way that is clickable. So you can't click an audio streaming. I mean, it's like you can't click what you hear. So, all right. I have both of Tom's personalities who are on the ADHD people and ADHD people at the Tom Nardone Show are both waiting to take a seat. I would love if Yvonne, Tom's wife, was one of these other people. I'm gonna let
Yvonne,
Tom in.
We love you.
All right. So Tom Nardone, one of my favorite people. Welcome to the ADHD Rewired Blab edition, the ADHD Awareness Month edition. So I don't see you on video. Maybe that's your other channel. Let's see how we go here. So I've doubled the Tom. Okay. I'm going to.
What
I can only handle one Tom.
Is that a body pillow, Tom?
What? Oh, no. It's a towel on my table.
Oh.
So that there's no echo.
Okay.
And I love the audio geekiness of that. That's awesome. Where is Yvonne?
She's ADHD people. I think she might have hit cancel. Yvonne, hit the join.
Yes, we have Tom and Yvonne Nardone. Oh, I am so excited. This just made my day.
We just
nothing good has to happen for the rest of the day. And right now, you just made me an extremely happy person. So if you guys don't know Tom and Yvonne Nardone, so Tom is the host of the Tom Nardone Show, but Yvonne is the star of the Tom Nardone Show. They both have ADHD. They, how would I best describe their show? Christina, you listen to the Tom Nardone Show.
A radical acceptance, yes.
Yes, radical acceptance of ADHD.
Unplugged.
You know, I love stories and I love the unclinical kind of perspective of ADHD, and you will get it listening to the Tom Nardone Show. You know, he talks about how, you know, he has a theory of pants, which is disgusting in my opinion. But he doesn't think that you need to wash pants more than, once a month?
No.
Clarify for us, Tom.
Necessary.
I mean, we can get into it if you want.
Give us the 60-second rundown of it.
The thing is, it's no different than your car upholstery or any of that kind of stuff. It's you don't ever wash that, but you perspire all over it and all the time when it's hot, but you don't ever think about what's living in there. Your pants, no one's ever had smelly legs. People have smelly feet, smelly armpits, a hat maybe, but never been told my legs smell. And I'm telling you, I've done the test, I've done the research, and it's amazing. Because that was actually my first blog and my first podcast.
What I want to ask people listening right now who are in the chat, right? How many days do you think you can wear a pair of pants?
No one will tell the truth
before you wash it.
I go a week.
A week?
Yeah.
I would go up to a week, like 4 or 5 days. I would wash or wear a pair of pants without washing it. All right, we got Robert Tedesco. Awesome. He's joining us with, so I'm going to have Rob come on in just a moment. So Tom, go ahead and post your link to that blog post and episode when you have a chance. So I want to open up the seat too, because part of what we're doing here is we're sharing stories about ADHD. So I have Rob on who is going to be joining me. I don't see you on video yet, so I don't know if you can hear me. Here we go. Sometimes it takes a moment. You're wearing a tie now. You're making me feel like I'm a schlub.
One thing while he's getting his audio.
Yes, please.
After that podcast, after that blog post, it was amazing to me how many people said, "Hey, Tom, day 14." It was a lot of people got on board. So it's not just me. So I'm just courageous enough to celebrate it.
And that's, Tom, that's one of the things that I absolutely love about what you do. So you are who you are and you celebrate it. And I think that's one of the things that happens with us with ADHD is we have these things that we perceive as we are so different from other people, and we hide those things. We keep these secrets and we carry it around like shame, this heavy burden of shame. And what I love about your show is that you are who you are and you make no apologies, even when maybe sometimes you should. But that's what I think it's really freeing to listen to you and Yvonne kind of just talk about the things that couples talk about. It's kind of like eavesdropping in on a conversation that you kind of feel like you shouldn't be listening to. So I want to thank you for doing what you're doing. I have Teresa who is asking to join. So Tom, I'm gonna say goodbye for now. And Christina too. I'm going to open up the seat because I got a couple other people who are wanting to share their stories. So Rob, hang on just a moment here. I have Teresa. Teresa, hello. I'm glad that you are joining me on Blab. And I'm going to also let Rob come in as well. Hey Rob, can you hear me now? And let's hear.
I'm okay. I'm excited. I saw this today and I thought this was fantastic. I'm glad I was able to chime in.
All right. So, Rob,
I have a piece of news, actually.
You have a piece of news? Let's hear some news.
Somebody picked up on our CrowdRise website and started their own fundraiser under the I Am One of 15 Million campaign. So I set up one for myself and someone set one up as well.
So let's back up a little bit, because I think that probably most people don't know, Rob. I think most people probably don't know kind of who you are and what you do. So let's first kind of just share with us who you are, because people are also going to be listening to this on iTunes as the podcast comes out. So not everyone is going to be seeing the video version of this. So Rob, kind of introduce everyone to who you are.
Sure. My name is Rob Tedisco. I'm an attorney, and I am a nonprofit consultant and a motivational speaker. And I'm also an adult diagnosed with ADHD. And I've been working with Eric on ADHD Awareness Month activities, and one of which is Chad's I'm One of the 15 Million campaign. And I thought this was a great podcast to join to just let people know I'm one of 15 million people with ADHD. And I think the only way we're going to eliminate stigma is to not be afraid and talk about who we are and how we see the world.
So you're an attorney. Now this is great because we have two highly educated people here, because Teresa is, are you officially a doctor now?
I am. Yep.
So we have a PhD and an attorney. So here I am. I just have my master's degree. I mean, I'm very undereducated in this group. And I think this is one of the things that people even, don't think, you can't have ADHD. You went to law school, or you have your doctorate. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation about ADHD. Rob, when did you get diagnosed?
When did I get diagnosed?
Mm-hmm.
I was actually, what happened to me was coming out of law school, I was undiagnosed, and I started, my first job was as a prosecutor in the South Bronx. I was in the Bronx DA's office. And what happened was that is probably the place that's tailor-made for someone with ADHD coming out of law school. Everything's an emergency. There's a lot of trial work. I'm very good on my feet. The problem was when I left the DA's office and I needed to start a private practice, and I had to keep track of my time, bill my clients, run an office, all of those administrative tasks that had nothing to do with my ability to be an attorney and represent my clients really kind of tripped me up. Like the same kind of brick wall that kids hit at different transitions, fourth grade, going into high school, middle school's another one, going into college. And I eventually was diagnosed, and it made a huge difference. And I got very involved in the ADHD community.
Now, did you struggle growing up?
Terribly.
What were some of your biggest challenges?
And had a number of issues, and it was just very, very difficult for me.
Okay, is there like a story that you want to share from maybe from your childhood? That was really kind of an emotional or pivotal experience, but looking back on it, it explains a lot.
Yeah. What happened was I was in seventh grade. And unfortunately for me, my father was in Italy, was educated as a math teacher. And so no matter what my report card said, the math grade was always very pivotal in my punishment. And so what happened was I was probably like a C-, C+ student in math, which was never good enough for my father. And we took a standardized test when I was in seventh grade. And what happened was after the test, my parents were called into school. And the nun told my father that I tested in math in the gifted range. And I'll never forget this. I was asleep when my parents came home, and my father woke me up and put me in a chair and gave me this huge lecture, because now he felt he had scientific proof that I was lazy. Because the teacher basically told him I was a genius in math and I was getting C-, C+. So it was, I couldn't say I was stupid or I didn't understand it. So I was discovered now. I was found out. And so as a kid, I was sitting there trying to understand why I was getting lectured for doing well on a test. And it really kind of fits the pattern of what a lot of kids go through.
And I see Teresa kind of nodding her head and smiling. Teresa, tell us a little bit about who you are, and share with us kind of some of the stories too that you're relating to what Rob is talking about.
Okay. So I have a PhD in neuroscience. I just finished last spring. I got diagnosed actually during my dissertation work, because that was when I hit the brick wall, having to do independent work. You go from doing coursework for the first few years of PhD, and of course my whole prior academic life, I had been, getting by because I always was able to I was just smart enough that I could do well on the test even without having very good study skills. But then when you're doing your dissertation work, it's very independent, self-directed, having to organize this big, huge project and get it all done, everything down to the little details and everything. So anyway, that's when I was diagnosed. But thinking about those like early pivotal moments in childhood, I was thinking about Brendan Mahan's Wall of Awful,
yes,
and how he said that we, most ADHD kids hit that around 3rd or 4th grade. I know for sure I hit mine in 2nd grade because I had this awful teacher, absolutely from hell. Looking back on it, I can tell that she was very frustrated with me because I was not turning in my homework, and it was very difficult to get me to cooperate. She probably knew that I was smart and couldn't, relate to what was going on, whatever. But there was one day that I remember that she got so frustrated with me saying that I had lost my homework that she dumped my desk out on the floor in front of the whole class and made me search for my missing homework, which I had actually forgotten to do. And so I'm sitting there crying and digging through this pile of papers that is a total mess because I know the homework's not there. I didn't do it. Yeah. And that was just like the beginning of a lot of, and I was the same. I was in gifted classes, but I was a terrible student. Like they knew I was smart, but I wouldn't do the work. I wouldn't focus or anything.
Yeah,
but I actually
Fortress White made a comment about giving a shout out to all the 2 E's, the twice exceptional. And that's one of these things that people think because you're smart you can't have ADHD, and it's not the case. I mean, we know that.
I actually just heard this the other day on the Mental Illness Happy Hour podcast. He was interviewing a neuropsychologist, and he was joking about some guy who had come into his office saying, "Oh, I have ADHD," and he was talking about how he took a IQ test. And he was like, "You're getting all of this right. You can't," and it's like, no, you're getting it wrong. IQ has nothing to do with ADHD.
Right.
You can be smart and actually have ADHD.
Poses a huge problem legally for parents. Part of my practice is representing parents to get services for kids with disabilities. And most of the kids that I represent are incredibly bright, but for their learning disability. And the school's position in many cases is that, well, they're not failing, so they're not entitled to services or support. And there really is no relationship between intelligence and a disability like ADHD or some other learning disabilities. And a lot of students are entitled to administrative support. Most of the kids I talk to say this year, it's not that the work is so much harder, it's that there's so many more things I have to remember to do this year. Mm-hmm. And that's usually those brick walls that we talk about. And it's important for people to understand that.
We're going to talk about the 1 in 15 million campaign. Before we get to that, if you are live in the chat room, I want to know if you are someone who is living with ADHD. And if you are, I'd like you to post in the comments the hashtag 1 of 15M. It's the word 1 of 15M. And I'm going to, you can see it on my screen how I have it. Because I am 1 of 15M. Now, if you are a parent, you can write that you love 1 of 15M. So I just want to kind of hear who is out there, because so this whole 15M, I mean, that's like the average from the statistical kind of perspective of how many people in the U.S. have ADHD. And that's actually a lower average. And I'm awful at math, and I posted to one of our Chad kind of leader groups. So can someone work this math out for me? I know that 4 to 9% of the U.S. based on the CDC numbers have ADHD. There's 322 million people in the U.S. Thank you, Siri. That made it very easy to figure that part out. So how do I figure out what the actual number is? And because my brain could not figure it out. So, and that's the thing. Like, I'm really good at some things. I'm not so good at others. And the number was somewhere more like 30 million, like the range between, I think it was 12 million and 30 million with that 4 to 9%. It's incredible. And it's one of these things where, whether you're a doctor or you're a parent, ADHD is treatable. If you ignore it, it doesn't help anything. If you bury your head in the sand, it doesn't help anything. So, part of why I'm also very active in the CHAD community is, having accurate information, having science-based information is really what CHAD has spent the last 26 years doing and disseminating. And we started as a grassroots organization and have grown over the last 25, 26 years. And, it wouldn't, and Rob can speak to the kind of the legal aspects of what CHAD has done for all of us living with ADHD. And a lot of people don't even realize that if it wasn't for CHAD, having the accommodation for ADHD under other health impairment wouldn't be in the IDEA Act if it were not for CHAD. CHAD did that. And I think that's incredible. So what are we?
Yeah, before that happened, actually, all the kids that had ADHD that needed services at school would have to get 504 plans. It wasn't until that issue hit that kids were entitled to an IEP, which was huge.
So, Rob, what I'd love for you to do is, can you give us the 1 minute, it's like the 30-second elevator speech, but the extended time version, the 1 minute, kind of what is the 1 of 15 million campaign and how can people get involved?
Sure. Well, everyone knows CHAD is the largest international organization that supports the ADHD community. But as large as they are, they have approximately 12,000 members. But there are at least, let's say, 15 million people in the United States with ADHD. And this is really an effort to mobilize those 12,000 members, their families, their friends, to reach out to that 15 million population and to really start a discussion about ADHD to try to eliminate stigma and also to try to raise money for some of the programs in terms of CHAD's I don't want to say lobbying efforts, CHAD's public policy efforts to provide a voice for the ADHD community and also to educate parents and teachers and policymakers about this condition and what it is and what it isn't.
So how can people get involved with it?
Well, first of all, what we'd like you to do is to post that you are 1 of 15 million, that you care for one of 15 million. If you love 1 of 15 million, let's get that hashtag out there. Let's let people know who we are as opposed to hiding from it. It's nothing to apologize for and nothing to hide from. We believe that having that conversation is really important. When you see other people's posts, please repost them, like them, and tell your stories. People's personal stories, like what Eric had asked us when we started this conversation today, are what move people to action. And we would also like people to consider either making a donation to our crowdfunded platform or to consider having an event that you may be participating in. Do it for, if you're going to be running a 5K or having a book sale at your local CHAD chapter or something, to do it for this campaign to raise money. We have a whole bunch of campaigns that are set up, and you can contact me if you have any questions.
Can you, Robert? Can you post a link in the side chat to the crowdfunding page if people want to get involved, or wherever they can get more information about that? What I want to do really quickly, we're going to do this live version. We're going to help pay the bills, and I want to know if you have a favorite book, especially an audiobook that you have that you'd like to recommend. Share it with my listeners, because we know that Audible supports ADHD Rewired, and you can get a free audiobook download by going to audibletrial.com/ADHD Rewired. And I posted the link in the chat, and so you can get a free audiobook download. Robert, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book is To Kill a Mockingbird.
Awesome.
And book about ADHD, I would have to say Driven to Distraction.
Okay. I know that is available on Audible. Teresa, what about you?
I have to admit I haven't actually gotten my free audiobook yet because I'm scared. For one, I'm afraid that I'm going to get addicted to audiobooks and not just spend lots of money on it and not have time for my podcast.
So, and I know that you are probably not the only one who feels that way, and so I'll give you a tip. So I'm on the 1 download a month plan, right? Mm-hmm. And so I supplement that through there's an app called OneDrive, which connects to your local library. And so if you sign in through your local library, you can actually get audiobook downloads. There's nowhere near as many that are available on Audible. But it supplements it, and I can, because I usually go through about a book a week. So yeah, audio, what's my URL? I forget it every single time. I posted my own link. It's audibletrial.com/ADHD rewired. What we do here is we're real. We're not always smooth. We make mistakes, and but we have stories to tell about them, and we're not the only ones going through this. So I want to invite anyone else who has not been and wants to share their story. So Teresa, do you have any kind of final thoughts that you want to share with us? Any stories that you're like, people need to know this? Not to put you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah. No, nothing immediately comes to mind.
As soon as you say goodbye here, you're going to be like, oh, I should have done that.
Right.
So I'm going to open up the seat to somebody else. If you have something else that you're inspired by, come back in. Okay. Thanks, Teresa.
Sure, thanks.
All right, we're going to open up the seats. Let's see. We have that's either, I think that's Yvonne. And I'm going to mute Rob right there real quick because his phone is ringing. It's okay. We get it. One of the things it was my first Chad conference that I knew that I was in a different place. Oh, it's still ringing. I knew I was in a different place when the keynote speaker said, for those of you who are coming in late, for those of you who have forgot to turn your phones off and have not, and it rings, and they said, it's okay. We get it. Don't worry about it. And I just loved that because it was like this message of that you don't need to feel ashamed being here because you are amongst your people. And the Chad conference is just over a month away, and I'm super, super excited about it. It's in New Orleans. And I've never been to New Orleans, so I'm really excited. I'm going to be a speaker there. I'm going to be talking about my presentation is high tech and low tech solutions to supercharge your productivity. And I'm just really, really excited about this conference. And I think at the conference, Rob, aren't we going to be having something set up where we're also going to be taking people's kind of videos about sharing their story of living with ADHD?
What we're trying to do is we're asking people to send in videos telling their personal stories. And as we're receiving them, and we've received several, we're going to be kind of combining them into a longer video piece. And we're going to be featuring it at conference and thanking the people who have sent us their information and kind of highlighting their stories. Because really, I think what Eric said is important to know, that one of the best things about being at one of these conferences is
you got to plug that phone around.
It's being around the other Chad members and other people with ADHD. It's really the first place I felt at home 15 years ago when I went to my first Chad conference.
I know that I've shared on past podcasts that every single ADHD conference I have ever been to, I've cried at least one session because something hits like so deeply in me. It's as a professional working with people with ADHD, I work really hard to manage my ADHD. And when I'm at these conferences, it's kind of like sinks in how hard I'm working to manage my ADHD. And it feels, I remember, I think it was Linda Rogley's presentation about coming out with ADHD. And like, that was my last session that I was at a conference where I cried. So maybe you will get to be in a session with me where you'll get to see the waterworks come out. I'm a crier. I do it. Because the stuff, this is not just about productivity. It's not just about, managing our impulses. It's about the overcoming the shame. It's about overcoming the stigma. It's about, doing things even though they're hard. So
absolutely.
that's part of my story.
I firmly believe one of the best things that I've gotten from Chad, as a board member, as a chapter coordinator, as a volunteer over the years, is that there's an enormous amount of comfort in just knowing you're not alone. Mm-hmm. And that's really what Chad's not a board. Chad is not a website. Chad is 12,000 people. And that's really what this campaign is to mobilize them and to really kind of get them interacting with each other. And that there's no better place to do that than at a conference.
And it's really true that Chad is not a website. And thank goodness for that. that because, one of the things that hopefully with our funding campaign we can do is create a more ADHD friendly website, because there's a lot of information on the website. It's just sort of hard to find it. But if you do go to the CHAD website and you're searching for information, use that search bar at the top of the screen. It's very helpful when you're trying to find information on the CHAD website. But, this is an organization made up of volunteers, and, so we need your guys' help. But I want to hear more stories. I'm going to open up the seat once again, and make sure if you are not already on my email newsletter, to go to my website and sign up. Or you can also text my last name, which is Tivers, Tivers, to 22828. And Teresa says, speaking of productivity, I need to get back to work. Thanks for stopping in, Teresa. So, all right. So I want to open up the seat to others. I have, it's either Tom or Yvonne are waiting to hear. We got Yvonne back in the seat. How are you, Yvonne?
Great. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks for joining us. So is Tom at work?
Tom is upstairs. I can hear the echo of your voice up there. So, we're in separate bedrooms, so we might as well be in separate rooms when we do this anyway. So that's a part of our radical acceptance of our ADHD is not sharing a bedroom. As we've talked about.
Yes, and if you listened to, and I forget which episode it was where I also shared that my wife and we also have separate bedrooms, which was something, it's one of these, and I talked about on the podcast where I was not in favor of this at first. All those shouldy thoughts, like husband and wife should share a bedroom. What does that mean? It's like, so I was, but we all have our own sleep issues. She's a really light sleeper. I come to bed way too late, and it disturbs her. And we have a son who is like the world's like worst sleeper, and my wife is someone who needs sleep or she doesn't function. So we decided as this experiment to try separate bedrooms for a while. I'm never going back. It's awesome. And here's the thing: it's
you can
like
sleep someplace in the bed, and no one cares. And I have my own bathroom, and it's great.
If we think about sleep as something health related, sharing a bed with someone is going to disturb your sleep. So it's not healthy. If you are disrupting your partner's sleep, and if they don't have good sleep, that makes them not their better selves. What a great way to think about it. You know what? Yeah, I'd rather spend quality time with my partner versus 7 or 8 hours next to this person in bed while we're trying to sleep. But this person just kicks me, takes my comforter, and is snoring, and I can't get any sleep. We're starting a revolution. Separate bedrooms. So Rob, I see you kind of nodding your head. Are you part of the separate bedroom club? This is awesome. All right. Rob is also part of the separate bedroom club. That's a fantastic.
No, we don't have separate bedrooms, but I could see that being such a great thing because of the way we kind of bump heads at night and stuff. I'm just thinking about how well that might even work.
Get with me offline, Rob. I can teach you how to sell it.
Okay.
I kicked him out, actually. He was very upset about it at first.
All right, Rob, thank you so much for joining us. Hang on, Yvonne. I'm going to open up the seat to somebody else. Rob, please post the links to the 115M campaign in there, and I want to open up the seat to somebody else. Thank you for joining us. All right.
Thank
so
you.
we have Tom and Yvonne again. I want to hear other people's stories. Let me share this on Twitter. I want to encourage everyone else to, that there's a little bar on the left side that says Tell a Little Bird. Please do that. Tell a Little Bird shares this with your network on Twitter. It gets other people in the room. We have about 13 minutes left here for the show. I'm going to really try to keep it to an hour. And, so Yvonne, what do you want to share with us? What's your ADHD story?
My ADHD story, I'll tell you what, baseball saved my life as a kid. Okay. If I hadn't had that. Sports and athletics. I only excelled in gym class and art class when I was going through school. So if people with kids or whatever, the more sporting events, the better. Get that excess energy out and able to focus on something, be self-aware, teaches a lot, about things in life as well. So for me, athletics was a big part of helping me through my ADHD as a kid. I still was terrible in school until I discovered Concerta and I was able to go back to college. I took Concerta. I went, wow, I could actually go finish college now, and then I took Concerta, and I was like, great.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Adderall was my game changer. I mean, I would have made it through college without Adderall. So, now you're still a pretty active person. I know that you're constantly doing work, and you like to do a lot of physical work as well. And you think that that's something that helps you with your ADHD?
Yeah, the more physical I am, the better I am. Otherwise, having anxiety is an issue with my ADHD. So if I'm not active and I'm not doing cardio and stuff like that and being mindful, mindfulness is a big thing that you taught me a lot about. And I've really put that to use, and it's really made some great strides, like monumental strides.
Can you share with us how you've put that to use?
I was rambling on ruminating thoughts and so forth, and it was giving me terrible anxiety. And you kind of told me about giving the anxiety a name.
What was the name you gave it?
Pushing the Peter. I don't know a Peter, so it doesn't relate to anything. And so I just say, when those thoughts start coming into my head and I start welling up and getting all excited and everything, I just say, go away, Peter. And all of a sudden it's like I took a pill. It's amazing. It's like I created a new neural pathway in my head. It took about 3 or 4 weeks for me to do the go away, Peter, for it to start working. Now I can actually add new stuff to Peter's plate. Like if I start stressing out about job issues or whatever that are less important worries, I can add that to Peter's plate and tell Peter to go away, and it goes away and my mind clears and I can better focus on things that are at hand and being more in the moment. And it's like a gift. It's like a wonder pill. It's incredible. Really, really, you were a great help to me in that and showing me that technique.
So, and that was at the end of the episode that we did together, which I can never remember what episode number anything is. And so it's the episode with Yvonne Nardone. Hey, Tom, I want to post the link to that episode in the bar there.
Your show with Yvonne?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we have about 10 minutes left. I want to ask Yvonne, and then Tom, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you think the secret to a happy marriage is when you both have ADHD?
Not complaining.
Lowering expectations.
That's any marriage. Just not complaining.
Not complaining and lowering expectations. I think that
fleas come with the dog.
Say that again, Tom.
Do.
The fleas come with the dog.
Learn to love the fleas.
My father-in-law gave me some kind of sage advice before I got married. And he said, before you get married, have both eyes open. Once you say I do, one eye open and one eye closed. It's because I think it's, if you just focus on the stuff that you don't like, it'll make you miserable.
Oh, it does. It does. And it did for a while in the beginning until I finally got him in his own room and got us separated enough to where I had my own space and he had his own space. It made things a lot easier to accept. And so I just accept that it's going to be a pit up there when I go up there. Sorry, I didn't know if that was allowed.
That'll be edited out.
I forgot to read the rules. I didn't read the rules.
This is the fun thing about live broadcasts is that whatever it's
comes out. I know, and I'm a potty mouth, so I can't help it.
At least on the what will be released on iTunes can probably be bleeped or we're at like the 50-minute mark, so most people have already tuned out by now anyways, but hopefully not. So I want to give if anyone else or if anybody's recently joined us, we have a seat open. Do you have a story that you want to share about living with ADHD? So Dre, it's either Dr. Ring McGriffin or Drew. All right. So Drew enjoyed that. Drew, if you want to join us, in sharing a story, we have one seat open. If anyone has any questions, one of the things that you can do here, there's a question tab, but I think you can also do a Q with a slash, and then you can say your question. Let me just experiment with that. I think that's, so maybe if since I'm the host, that /Q. Oh, so other way around. Okay. So if you have a question, that will kind of alert me to if you have a question. And I think someone had a question earlier about behavior strategies. Let me scroll up here. And this is such a neat thing. People can join either live on video or in the chat here. So there was a question about behavior strategies. Instead of me kind of scrolling through, if someone can ask the question again, that would be a lot easier. So just follow me. I think you can do that somehow in here. If you click on my name on the window, there's I think a way to follow me on Blab, so you can get notified of other Blabs. And you can also stream through the question tab. All right. So Noah's posted there. So what is your ADHD story? I really want to hear it. Actually, Thursday, I almost forgot to mention this because I forgot. Miss ADD is going to be joining me, and she's going to be co-hosting with me on Thursday. And so if you know the Miss ADD podcast, and my name part of my brain is locking at the moment. Help me. Justine Rotello. And I love it because Justine will probably hear that and laugh. She's a wonderful one. She does a lot of stuff with nice mindfulness. And so can I log into the study room for the first 30 minutes as a question? Or would you prefer to save the space? I haven't thought of that question, so I don't have an answer to that. Sure, you can join. Sure, yes, you can join for the first 30 minutes. Absolutely. So she will be hosting, Justine Rotello will be hosting this with me on Thursday. Make sure you're on my email list to get the notifications of this, or you're following me on Facebook or Twitter. So I just want to thank everyone who kind of stopped in. I want to thank Tom and Yvonne and Rob and Teresa. And I'm sure I'm forgetting someone because it's ADHD Awareness Month. But thank you guys for sharing your stories. We're going to be doing this all month long. So Fortuous Wife, would you like to join us for a moment in the seat? All right. Lolly is joining us. So welcome Lolly as her video stream kind of registers here. I'll give it a second. Here we go. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I wasn't planning to be on camera today, though.
Well, that's the fun about ADHD. Sometimes we just kind of go with it, right?
Yeah.
Well, you look marvelous.
Tom and Yvonne, and guess who I had lunch with yesterday?
Who did you have lunch with yesterday?
I'll give a shout out to Mr. Brendan Mahan.
Excellent.
Yeah, we met up and had a really nice ADD lunch, all because of episode 89.
That's awesome. I'm going to I'm kicking Tom off because I don't want to look at his foot. But I know you can still hear. So Lolly, tell us a little bit about who you are. What's your ADHD story in about a minute or two?
Well, I grew up in the dark ages of pre-ADHD. So a lot of what I try and do today is I started off blogging and kind of just writing about my day-to-day trials and tribulations. And that's kind of evolving now. I'm doing some parent mentoring, just helping friends and friends of friends, kind of, oh my God, the teacher says my kid might have ADHD. And people say, call my friend Lolly. And it was an interesting evolution because last year, my 8-year-old, who I did not think had ADHD, was diagnosed with combined type. So my 10-year-old, he came out of the womb and I'm like, oh, dude, that's brain. And I knew it. So that was interesting because it caught me off guard. And, I live in this space for, my life. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I was in a panic. I went into parent mode. Who do I talk to? What do I do? Where do I go? I've got to fix this now. Because I might get distracted by something and not get back to it. So that was a real awakening for me and kind of has focused my goals going forward in terms of helping people when they start off on this, helping them with their kids.
Well, what's the message that you give people when they're in the beginning of this journey to help them kind of, in a sense to kind of lay the red carpet down for them, to let them know this is a journey that you should definitely go down?
Well, I think that I use my own life experience. I forget some prior guest was saying that, school was a struggle. I was always struggling in school. When they did the IQ tests in kindergarten, at the end of kindergarten, I did well. I did not do well in school, really, really badly. And every year they would tell my parents, we should really hold Lolly back because there's no way that IQ test was right. And every year in the spring, my mom said, no, you're not holding her back. If you think the test is wrong, give it to her again. And I guess what I want to do is I want to try and help parents make sure that their kid gets every resource they can. My life experience can hopefully maybe be a lesson, an example, and if you grab onto all these wonderful resources, podcasts and books and coaching, your kid will have an awesome, amazing life, and they'll be everything that they possibly can be, and, they won't have those struggles.
So learn as much as you can.
Yeah. And I always tell parents, just be open to everything. Don't eliminate anything until you've explored it fully.
That's great. Do you have any an analogy that you use to explain ADHD?
Yeah. Well, in terms of also when I'm talking to friends or things, and they'll say, well, why do you take medication? Or why should my kid take medication? And I always use the analogy of a radio. And we're all chugging along in life and we're in our cars listening to the same song. But then when you get Adderall, or maybe it's Concerta, or maybe it's meditation and omega-3 fatty acid, but whatever that treatment or practices are for you, when it's right, all of a sudden you find out you've been listening to 96.7 your whole life. So you've been bebopping along to the same song, but nobody told you everybody else was on 96.9.
And there's other stations out there you can listen to.
Well, no, you're still on the same station, but you never knew that static wasn't part of the song.
I got it. Yes.
You're just, I'm thinking of the good old fashioned, knob radio in, your car when you were a kid, and you could be listening to the song, but if you just turned it one tiny little bit further, all of a sudden it was clear. And you didn't even know that you were listening to static. You didn't know that that's not how it's always supposed to be.
That's how I, in a similar way, how I describe when I the first time I took Adderall, it was this feeling of feeling normal for the first time. And
it's that's how people feel like.
And it's just an interesting concept of well, how do you know what normal would be like if you've never experienced it? And it's just like, I've talked to so many people who have shared that very same experience. Where it's just like, that this is how it's supposed to be.
When I started taking medication and my very linear, engineer, pragmatic, even-tempered husband, who was trying to understand and just like, why are you taking medication and you never did before? Well, now I have toddlers and they're crazy and now I'm crazy too. But, I was trying to explain it to him, and that, I tried Ritalin and I tried Strattera. I tried some things. And when I took Adderall, literally the first week, he was like, so why is it different? And I've been using that radio analogy literally since that first conversation, because it was the best way I could explain that, like, we're all listening to the same song, and I used that analogy and he was like, oh, now I get it. But it was the only way I could articulate to someone who has no idea what a fast brain is. Mm-hmm. Your head is full of static, why I don't like Macy's or not. I don't like It's not that I don't like Macy's. I don't like big department stores. There's too much,
I am right there with you. I
walk into a crowded department store and my brain literally goes, too much visual information.
Yes. I think I made the very same expression while explaining what happens to me. I do put the blinders on, over my eyes because it's like
too busy.
It's
too busy.
Yeah.
I made a video that I sent out yesterday, and I'm going to see if I can recreate it now and show it kind of the idea of what I did, because I think it kind of explains sort of what we're talking
that was
about.
Great.
Oh, I missed it.
Okay.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So let me see if I can do this without like messing everything up. Okay. So we see here the plasma ball, right?
Okay.
And let me kill some light so it's so we can kind of see it a little bit better. I got it. Okay.
There you go. Right.
All right.
Yep, right there.
So this is the ADHD brain. All right. And our brain is paying attention to everything. And so right now, let's say my focus needs to be here, right? Doing this blab right now. That's where my focus needs to be. Now, when I see something pop up on my window of the screen, now that has my attention, and that's not part of what I need to be doing. That's distraction. And now I have a thought that just kind of pops into my head because random thoughts pop into my head all day long. Now that's here. Now that has also nothing to do with what I need to be doing. And so the ADHD brain focuses based on proximity, not priority. It is a really bad filter of what is most important. Now, the other part of ADHD is hyperfocus. And hyperfocus is when we are so engaged in what we are doing that we fail to see the everything else that we need to do. So when we need to shift our attention, I'm trying to do it so you can actually see.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't. Now,
I love hyperfocus. It's like my favorite thing.
Now I'm going to dispel some myths about hyperfocus real quick.
It's draining and everything else falls apart, but
so managing the hyperfocus is also part of managing ADHD.
Yeah.
So we have to understand, we have to see the long-term kind of aspect. And I think that understanding that, and I did this on the video that I made, that I was like burning my hand when I was doing it. And so which then added to the analogy of, when you hyperfocus, you burn out your kind of your neural pathways and you burn yourself out. And so on this video that I posted, my hand was like truly burning and I wanted to finish my thought. So I was like keeping it on the plasma ball while doing it. So anyways, so that's just, that's one analogy that explains ADHD from just the perspective of focus. So listen, I want
that's a great one.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That was a great one. I liked that.
Thanks.
Very visual.
Thanks. So I want to kind of wrap this up. Now, I did have the thought of, man, this would be a really fun way to do the random question round. But I'm going to save that for Thursday.
Don't do it to me, please.
Although, Lolly, based on the facial expression that you just had, and this is why I love video conference, because you get the full extent of what someone is feeling.
I listen every week and I go, I'm so glad I don't have to answer that question.
So here's my random question to you, Lolly.
What?
Have you left a review for ADHD Rewired on iTunes?
I'm what?
Have you left a review for ADHD Rewired on iTunes?
I'm gonna.
She's doing it now, and I love you for it. Thank you in advance.
I'll do it right now.
And I did post the link to the podcast on iTunes, and you can subscribe so you never miss an episode. Man, I think that creating the 84th episode came out today. This might be the most un-ADHD thing I've ever done. I have not missed a week since I've launched ADHD Rewired. And, that's the thing when we think about starting is often the hardest part, but so is finishing. And we do need to end this now. So I hope to see you on Thursday's Blab. To the best of my recall, I think it's at noon on Central Time. But just follow me on Blab. I'm going to be posting stuff on Twitter and Facebook. And if you go to my website, ADHD Rewired, you can get on my email list and get all that information. Thank you for sharing your stories. Don't forget, it's ADHD Awareness Month all month long. Share your stories on social media. And if you would, share the hashtag 1 of 15 million, because there's a lot of us out there. And the more of us that talk about our experiences, the less stigma there will be around ADHD. So thank you. I hope to see you guys at Adult Study Hall at 2:30 p.m. Thank you for listening to another episode of ADHD Rewired. And if you're new to the show, welcome to ADHD Rewired. We are more than just a podcast. We are a community focused on learning, growing, and connection. You can see a full outline of this and all other episodes with all the links and other resources mentioned during this interview at ADHDrewired.com. Help support this podcast by checking out my sponsors. I use Zoom video conferencing nearly every day, and so can you. Go free or go pro. But please, go to erictivers.com/Zoom so they know that I sent you. And you can get a free audiobook from Audible at erictivers.com/Audible. And next time you shop Amazon, use the Amazon search portal at ADHDrewired.com. A small percentage of your purchase will go to support this show, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. You can also support this podcast by leaving an honest rating and review in iTunes or Stitcher. This really helps other people find this show. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't just be a passive listener, be an active member of the ADHD Rewired community. We are on Facebook. You can like our page, but please submit your request to join our free and growing community. And don't forget to check your other inbox because I screen everybody before they come into our community. Looking for a coach? If you're still listening at this point and you answered yes, come to my website at ADHDrewired.com and schedule your free 20-minute consultation, or call me at 224-993-9450. Is your school, business, or organization hiring speakers? I provide fun and engaging presentations full of practical solutions that both educate and entertain. Hire me for your next professional development day or corporate training event. Go to ADHDrewired.com/talks. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next week.